Good afternoon, everybody. We're happy you all are joining us today. We're going to wait just a few more seconds here and let everyone come in that's in the waiting room right now. So give us a few more minutes and we'll get started. All right, looks like we might have got everybody. So welcome, and just so everyone knows, we are recording this webinar so that we can post it on our website and share it after the fact. So we do get quite a few people that come back and look at recordings after we've done them live. So just know that we are recording today. Dave Carter and I are going to be your speakers, and just your uh, answering all your questions that you might have. This is intended to be a general informational session about the Meat and Poultry Processing Technical Assistance Program. We have been doing this program for over 2 years now. Over the past couple of weeks, we've had a few of the grants that we've all been anxiously waiting on be awarded. So hopefully some of you are new grant awardees, and some of you might still be waiting to hear. So this is intended to help provide more information on how we might be of assistance to you with your recent awards, as well as continue to be of assistance to ones that are still seeking, possibly grants, loans, helping to figure out what your financing might look like. Over the past couple of years, we've developed a lot of relationships all across the United States. Matter of fact, over 1,300 now across the United States of projects that are in various stages. Some of you are looking at brand new operations. Some of you are expanding operations. Some of you are looking to just add some pieces of equipment. So different types of projects in various stages all across the United States. So this is intended to help you understand what we're here for, what we can still do. We also have some of our fellow technical assistance providers on this webinar as well, some that you might have been referred to. So as we go through this, if you have questions, please use the Q&A icon on the bottom of the screen. We'll try to answer your questions as we go along. This is intended to be informational for all of you. So if you have questions, please make sure and ask your question, and we'll try to answer them as we go. Dave, do you have anything to add?
Well, the only thing I would add, Chris, is yeah, this is sort of a critical pivot point for us because, as you mentioned, some of these grants are starting to hit, and we're trying to emphasize to folks that our technical assistance network is here for the long haul. We run at least through the end of 2026, and our technical assistance is really designed to help you after the grant period as much as it is in preparing you for submitting a grant. So yeah, let's go get to it, Chris.
Yeah, let's go for it. Nikki, if you would advance the screen for us. I notice on the attendee listing, we have several tribal participants on the call, so we welcome you all. We have a lot of other technical assistance applicants and projects from all over the United States. We wanted to include this map so that you all know where all we're working. Some of you might be indicated by one of these orange dots, but we work with people and projects all over the United States. You can see down in Puerto Rico, Hawaii, Alaska, Marianas Islands. So there's a pretty good group of people doing similar projects to you, but everyone is a little bit different. So maybe it's a different species, maybe it's a different type of project, maybe it's a meat market, maybe it's a slaughter facility. So we try to connect people sometimes that have similar projects, maybe in a different area. We often refer some of our different technical assistance professionals. Maybe it's one of our professionals from the American Association of Meat Processing. If you're looking at, HACCP issues, or maybe you're starting fresh and don't know where to start with HACCP, we're probably going to refer you to one of our TA providers from AMP or from American Meat Science Association. If you're looking at marketing, if you're looking at maybe what products are selling and how they're selling in your area, that's something Dave Carter loves to dive into. And so Dave's probably the one you're going to look at and talk to about that. If you're dealing with new construction or looking at plant layouts, I take a lot of those on myself. So depending on what you're into or what issues you might be facing, we have approximately 40 different technical assistance providers that we can refer you to for various types of questions or issues that you may have. So please keep that in mind. If you're in project development, or maybe you've just been awarded a grant and you're looking at contracting, or maybe you're in design, please reach out to us. We can help you with all kinds of things to do with contracts, warranties, buyout, you name it, we can help. If you're still looking for funding, or maybe you're very early in the process, we still get calls on a weekly basis of people that are just getting started, folks that are trying to figure out maybe what they should be doing to maybe take care of their own communities or feed their own people, or maybe they still are looking to figure out how to make that connection between the farm and the table, and they have animals in their communities and they're trying to figure out how to get them to market. Please reach out. We can assist you with that. Some of you are recent MCAP awardees, or maybe you're a recent MPEP Phase 2 awardee, or maybe you're an IAG, the Indigenous Animal Grant awardee. As you're looking at your projects, you're trying to figure out how to implement those, please reach out, stay in contact with us. We can help you through that process. Dave and I are also doing a lot of grant management and follow-up on some older grants. So when you think about these grants that you might be getting awarded, please pay attention to the reporting guidelines. You have to be communicating with USDA staff and your grant managers on what you're doing. There are some reporting guidelines that you need to pay attention to. Again, we can help you through that process as well. There's if you're looking to even get funds transferred from a grant, if you're a grant recipient and you could possibly be using a payment management system. If you run into issues with those kinds of things, please let us know. We have some people that can help with that. Next slide, Nikki. Wanted to make sure that you all knew who all is on our team. Go ahead, Nikki. First of all, we've got Dave and I listed on here. We have several people on our team, from our back of house staff to our technical assistance providers. We've got Oregon State University Niche Meat Processing Assistance Network. We've got the Intertribal Ag Council. I see several of you all on our screen now. IEC has several technical assistance providers all across the United States. We have the American Association of Meat Processors, and they have several all around the United States. American Meat Science Association, and they have several all across the United States. The Agricultural Utilization Research Institute, they're primarily in the upper Midwest. ARI has a meat lab up in Minnesota. We can sometimes get them to branch out a little bit depending on the subject, but they're primarily going to be looking at Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, I think over in Michigan a little bit as well. And then we have Tuskegee University, who's down in Tuskegee, Alabama. They focus a lot in the Southeast, but Dave and I have had them on some other projects as well in different areas. I think Dave's had them possibly in Texas, and I think I've seen them up in the Great Lakes on some projects. So just reach out. We have a wide base of technical assistance providers with all kinds of various levels of experience and different things. So please keep that in mind as you're going through your projects. Next slide.
Let me just add, Chris, yeah, that you may be working with one member of our team on something else, but if you move into a different phase of your project, somebody else that has expertise in what you're doing may there. So, um, it is a really, really broad network. And in addition to this formal network, we have MOU partnerships now with close to 20 organizations like Farmer Veteran Coalition and Women in Ranching and others. So, we want to extend the outreach, but also draw on their expertise and bring them in as we can.
Yeah, I'm going to interrupt here real quick, Dave. We had a couple questions come in. One question is, do you have a checklist of what you offer for free and what costs money? If you look at the flowerhill.institute website, you can see some of the services that we have and that are included. The Flower Hill Institute doesn't have a listing of what costs money. What we can tell you, we'll link you with different technical assistance providers based on what you need. We cannot write grants. We cannot write feasibility studies, things like that. But as far as technical assistance goes, we are free to you. Some of the other organizations have similar listing of services. But just reach out with what your project entails, and we're happy to work with you on that. Mr.
Dean
L.
that asked that question, I think, one of the slides here will talk a little bit more about our scopes of work and the areas that we cover. But yeah, as Chris mentioned, we can't do your feasibility study or write your grant, but um, we try and cover as much as we can. I like to tell people the only thing you don't get from us is an invoice. But we also, then on those areas that we can't cover, we have a really good directory of resources of consultants too that you can draw on in addition to our formal network.
Yeah, yeah. And next question is from L. Mike Smith. What is the status of the local MCAP grant, which was submitted in June of 23 and publicly stated to be awarded in FY 23? They are making those awards right now, Mr. Smith, and we are actually hoping to see a listing of awardees next week, from what we understand. Again, just know we're not USDA employees and we don't have a direct tie, and they don't give us much insider information, usually none. So they'll usually notify us of the awardees the same time that that information goes public. But we have heard there should be a listing next week on that.
And as I understand, Chris, this next batch is like another 40. They've done 42 awards, which was about $9.5 million out of the 75 that's been allocated for MCAP. And we think this next batch will be about 40 more, and that's not going to be the end of it. I was on a webinar earlier this morning, and somebody saying, "Well, did they just send that money off, elsewhere at USDA?" And not that we know of. I think it's all is still allocated to that. But with the MCAP, they expected 200 to 300 applications. They got close to 1,000, and so they've had their work cut out for them going through all of that.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that, Dave, too. Next slide. Scope of work here. This might help answer that one of the last questions as well. Over the last couple of years, we've really focused a lot on the federal funding technical assistance. That took up about 90% of our time because there were so many grants that came out over the last 2 years. And as you heard, we're still waiting on some of those to be awarded, but we've really transitioned a lot. Really this year, since the beginning of the year, we've had a lot of focus on operations of existing plants. We've had a lot of focus on follow-up of previous grant awards. So some of the MPIRG grant awards that came out in 21 and 22, we've been doing quite a bit of follow-up on that. The folks that got some of those grants are currently in the closeout process. So we're trying to help some of those people get closed out. We have several people that are implementing those grants, and they've bought equipment, they've done expansions, they've done a lot of work on those early grants. So when you think about MPEP phase 1 that came out, those grants are really right in the middle of their project development right now. As the MCAP the IAG and the MPEP Phase 2 awards continue to come out, we're going to see that implementation phase kick off for those group of awardees. So it's kind of a vicious cycle sometimes where we have some of the older grants that may be closing out, and now some of the newer grants that are just now getting into place and starting to be implemented. This is kind of a long process that Dave and I get to work in, and a lot of our TA providers. We see a lot of different types of work going on at different plants across the nation. So that allows us to be pretty versatile and to utilize all of our technical assistance providers, from the initial grant writing all the way through project development, grant closeout, operations assistance. Here on the bottom of this screen, the supply chain development, that's a big one. Hopefully you've already looked at that before you even wrote your grant, or maybe before you looked at your project and you were thinking about feasibility studies. Where are you going to sell your product? Where are you going to get your animals? Where are your markets? But these things can evolve, these can change. And actually, Dave spends a lot of time on this each month, where he looks at market trends and updates, and he does a market report that he puts out every quarter. And maybe a good time for you to talk about that, Dave. I think he just finished one of those up as well.
Absolutely, and we'll have another one coming out at the after the end of June. But this is critical because one of the things Dr. Sarah Lowe last year put out a paper talking about the survival of smaller meat processing plants and how difficult, how challenging it is for smaller enterprises to succeed. And one of her key points in there was that it's really critical for smaller processors to have a focus on what do you do? What can you do differently? How can you tap into a market so that you're not just looking at putting together a generic product that's going to go into a Kroger or whatever and sit next to their generic products. And so what we really try and focus on is what are some of the trends in the marketplace that favor smaller meat processors, people wanting locally prepared food, meat from animals humanely raised or regenerative or tribally produced, all of those things that can help you distinguish your project and differentiate. And then on the other side is, what do you do with the other half of the animal? That's such an important question, an important issue, is how do we maximize the carcass utilization and utilize the byproducts? And so we're doing a lot of work with folks in the leather and tanning industry, with pet food, even with human edible offal, to help you with that entire spectrum of the supply chain.
Yeah, that's great. And here over the last couple months, we've also spent a lot of time on financing and helping to provide alternative financing solutions. We know that, of course, there's many of you that haven't gotten grants. But if you're still looking to advance your project and move your project forward, there are other solutions for financing besides just going down to the local bank. We want to help you find those options, connect you with different people that are doing what we call alternative financing. It might be a stack of some sort, or maybe you did get a partial grant. Maybe if you're like the MPET Phase 2, where you're getting 30% of the grant and you're still looking for that other 70%, reach out to us. We can help you help connect you with other folks that might have some potential solutions for you. Dave and I can't necessarily write your business plan and feasibility study, and we're not gonna be able to write your financial projections, but we can help you be better prepared and make sure you have the right documents to go to these different lenders, and make sure you have those documents in a good, readable manner that they're going to understand when they see them. Know that there's not a lot of lenders out there that specialize in meat and poultry processing. There's not necessarily a designated lender out there. We do have a webinar coming up next week that will focus on partially the rural development funding, as well as the meat and poultry intermediary lending program. And that will help try to help you understand where there still may be some funds available from some of those lenders that are specifically looking at lending money in the meat and poultry processing. Those grants came out earlier last year to lenders to relend that funding out specifically for meat and poultry processing. So if you have a project and maybe you're just coming up a little short, tune in for that webinar next week as well. It'll be next Thursday again. Is that Wednesday or Thursday?
Yeah, it's on Thursday next week. And the other thing is on our website, we have archived, we did a webinar last week on some of the alternative financing sources that are available for meat and poultry processing, and had two really good folks on there, Janie Hip with the Native Agriculture Finance Services, and Lissa, I want to say Wagner with Stewart Capital, and that is archived on our website, so you can actually go in and download that and watch that as well.
Yep. We had one more question come in, Dave. I want to get it while we're right in the middle of it. But Mark had a question. Many smaller processors find that their wastewater is a problem. Do you have someone specialized in wastewater? And Mark, we do have a few folks that are working in wastewater. And I know that AMP just did a webinar on wastewater. And then we had one more previous. If you just send us an email, we'll try to connect you with those. And my email is croper@flowerhill.institute, and Dave's is dcarter@flowerhill.institute. We'll make sure and connect you with those previous resources we had. And we'll obviously have to get a little more information of what specific wastewater issue it is, but we do have some people that you can talk to.
And I
Next
know,
slide.
Chris, a lot of people are watching. There's some proposed rules coming down through the Environmental Protection Agency on wastewater from meat processing plants, and American Association of Meat Processors (AMP) is really taking the lead on trying to work with EPA to address that, to make sure that that whatever comes down is workable for smaller processors.
Yeah, yeah, and I think a lot of our smaller processors are going to be exempt from that based on the
Yeah.
total number of pounds processed, but we'll have to see what that final rule looks like. But hopefully, most of our people are exempt. But next slide, Nikki. Another thing we wanted to bring up to you all, some of you have plants, and USDA is really rolling out this remote grading program for beef. If you haven't heard of this, we wanted to make sure that we mention it. If you are in a remote area, which many of you are, grading of carcasses may not be very achievable for you. I've experienced this in some small plants that I've been associated with. A lot of times graders are at the big plants, or they're at, maybe they live near a city. But a lot of us are in rural areas, and grading, if you were going to have carcasses graded, you were going to have to pay for that grader to drive to you, grade your animals, and then drive back. So for a lot of folks, it made that grading process unachievable and unaffordable. USDA started about a year ago with this pilot program. They started in just a handful of plants to check it out and see how it would work. But basically, there's a camera system that you can put at your remote plant. You can sign up for this service. USDA AMS staff will train you. You'll have a camera, it's got a shield on it, and they'll show you how to rib these carcasses, take the pictures, email them to AMS staff, and they will grade those carcasses for you and send you results within 24 hours. So you will still be charged a grading fee, but that fee is based on the time that grader is, grading your carcasses. No drive time, no travel time, nothing like that. So it's a lot more affordable option for you to get grading on your carcasses. So for a lot of farm to table programs, they want to be able to brag on the quality of their animals, and they want to be able to put that quality grade on their packaging. So this makes it a lot more achievable for a lot of smaller plants to participate in. Next slide. And if you'll look on the bottom right part of this slide, as of April 29th, this was the active remote grading uh, plants that were participating in this. So there were, as of the end of April, there were 20 actives, 13 in consultation, and then 9 follow-ups. That number has went up by a handful since April. We just haven't updated our slide. So next slide. And how it works. There's several ways you can get a hold of us. Many of you have a direct email to us already, just by looking at the participants on the call today. A lot of you have our direct emails and our cell numbers, and we're happy to share that information with you. If you've never signed up for technical assistance before, we really like for you to go to the flowerhill.institute website. Go to the USDA MPPTA page and request technical assistance. That gets you into our system and allows us to follow up with you because Dave and I are traveling constantly. I've been in 6 different states this week alone, and Dave's been from Oklahoma and all over Colorado this week. So we travel a lot. We make a lot of site visits. But we will lose track of you, unfortunately, if you're not in our system. We have people that make sure Dave and I don't forget somebody. As long as you're in our system, they will send us an email at least weekly to make sure that we are not forgetting somebody. So please know that we're doing our best to keep up. And the same thing with our technical assistance providers that work with other organizations. If we refer you to one of those and someone from AMP or AMSA or IEC is helping you, we send them reminders as well. So there's a lot of benefits to being in our system. We also send you newsletters, usually monthly, unless some real important information comes out, say a grant award or a new grant opportunity, or maybe it's a new training opportunity that's free for you. We'll email blast that out. We're not here to send junk email. We don't send advertisements, and we don't sell your information. So when you sign up for our services, you're just getting our services, and then we try to share any training opportunities that our other partner organizations have as well. So give us as much information as you can. Dave and I see all of those as soon as they come in. We try to sort through those to find who the best technical assistance provider is for you for that particular question you might have asked. But just know if you filled it out before, you're in our system, and you're always welcome to send us another email, or if you have another issue or another question, just email us back. If Dave and I aren't the right one for you, we will still refer you to somebody else to get you other information. If you have an open plant now and you've got some issues with a HACCP plan maybe, or maybe you have a technical issue, or maybe you're having an issue with an inspector, and you've got a question, we will refer you to somebody, and you'll still be in our system, and you'll still get our newsletters. So please, if you haven't filled one out before, please sign up for technical assistance. You'll be in our system, and we'll make sure to stay in contact with you. Next slide. Other resources, we have all of our team has tried to keep all of our information up to date, as well as our partner organizations. Our Flower Hill Institute website, we have several different directories on there, and we want to list a few of these. But the technical assistance inquiry form, which we've talked about, the resource toolkit, there are that toolkit evolves regularly. So if you've looked at it 3 months ago or 6 months ago and there wasn't something on there that helped you, I encourage you to look again, because content changes on that very regularly. At least monthly, we're updating that. We obviously put these kinds of webinars on here so you can refer back to those, or you can share them with other people you might work with and say, hey, take a look at this webinar on composting and see if this might relate to you. Or maybe it's one on byproduct utilization, or could be grant writing or anything. So Make sure you're following that. We also keep a listing of consultants that reach out to us. So if we have a service that somebody asks for that we can't do, we keep this listing of consultants available. It might be equipment suppliers, it might be grant writers, feasibility study writers, all kinds of different folks reach out to us, can ask us to be a part of the network, and we send them a form to fill out. We don't vet all of these folks. Please note, though, if we do get complaints on somebody, we typically remove them from our listing. We try to keep it listed with good, credible resources, but just know that we haven't vetted them all out, but we try to stay on top of it. Also, keep an eye on the USDA.gov grant resources. People are always looking for new grants. This is one of the best websites. Typically, all of your federal grants are listed on this one. Your state grants will not be listed on this site. So if you're in a particular state and you've got a Department of Agriculture, make sure that you're staying on top of their websites as well for any new grant opportunities that the states might have out. So next slide. All right, this gets us into some of the questions. I know Nikki has posted some of the links that we were talking about in the chat, so make sure that you see those links. Dave, do you have anything that I might have missed or we need to dive into deeper?
The only thing I would emphasize is, we're here to help you even if you haven't gotten a grant. And so, the whole point of the story is increasing the capacity across the country. Um, from, the only charge that we got from USDA when we began this project was don't be too hasty to return a phone call from one of the big four. We're here to help you with, we're here to help everybody else.
Yeah, and then again, just looking at the listing of participants
And
here today.
so people ask us, next round of MPAP or MCAP grants going to be available? Well, those were funded through the American Rescue Plan. So those right now have kind of been run the course, but we all have our eyes on the Farm Bill. And I'm an eternal optimist that we are going to get a Farm Bill one of these days. And I know, several of the drafts have continuation of some of these programs. So we'll continue to let people know as anything becomes available.
Yeah, I was just scrolling through our attendees here today, and again, I know we have some grant recipients, some new grant recipients on the call, and we have some with brand new projects and some with existing projects. So we know we've got projects for all across the board, and then if we can be of any assistance to any of you, please let us know. We're happy to help, or at least happy to. If Dave and I can't help you, we're happy to try to find the right assistance for you for whatever issue you might have came up with. So please let us know. Do we have any more questions out there? Here comes one. Here's from our friend Mark out in Idaho. Are buffalo considered an exotic animal, and does this increase the cost from USDA on slaughtering and added fee? That's a great question, Mark, and that has been a hot topic the last couple of weeks. I've been on some calls with USDA on this. And with you being in Idaho, you do not have state inspection, which is going to make bison a voluntary inspection in Idaho. And that is an extra fee for you. In some states, the state meat inspection programs do consider bison to be amenable, and they give that inspection for free. There are 15 states in the United States that do provide free bison inspection. Now, that does not mean if you're in one of those states and you're at a USDA plant that you'll get free inspection. But that's a good reason to reach out to us. We can try to help you whatever state you're in. So what we're trying to say, there are 15 state meat inspection programs in the United States that are covering those fees. And right now, there was a budget that came out earlier this year that is paying for bison inspection for meat processing facilities located on tribal reservations. There was $700,000 allocated to cover bison inspection at processing plants on tribal reservations. So please reach out to us on that, and we'll try to help you navigate that. But the short answer for you, Mark, in Idaho is yes, that's an added fee, just because you have to go to an FSIS plant. Ross has a question for us. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, it's an anomaly to have buffalo or bison classified as the exotic species. Since I'm a bison guy, so we were here first. But it's the way that it's classified under the Federal Meat Inspection Act. And those of you that do have state inspected programs and you're processing them under state inspection, the difference between being non-amenable under state inspection and amenable is you can ship that product interstate if you're a non-amenable under a state inspection program. So it costs more to have USDA, but if you're state inspected, that can be sold interstate.
Yeah, yeah. Ross has a question for us. Are we going to address how to best navigate the MPET financial assistance agreement, or should we pursue that separately? Ross, I think that's a good one to handle one-on-one. So if you can reach out to us, we'll work that one one-on-one if that's okay. Jeff Caskey in Oklahoma, he's got a question for us on the topic of bison. Can you describe the USDA inspection process of field harvest of bison, what that looks like now and how it works? And Jeff, that is allowable. Our friends up in South Dakota pushed and fought, and they actually took the USDA FSIS administrator out and show them how they do it. And that field harvest can happen. We have to be working at a plant basically that has that inspection or establishment number, and we can set up and have that inspector go out. So it's going to have to be scheduled, but that inspector is going to have to go on that harvest as well if you want that done under inspection. So there's lots of ways to do it without the USDA inspector as well, depending on where that meat is going. If you're just doing a bison field harvest to give away, you don't have to have that done under inspection. But if you're going to sell it, if you're going to, put it into a restaurant, or maybe you want to sell it at your local convenience store, you're going to have to be inspected. But if you want to dive deeper into that or have other questions, let us know. We'll work on that with you.
And I've got a copy of some of the regulations that cover the field harvest of bison too. Can send you some links on those if you need.
Yeah, yeah. Sherilyn Spears, I would like to insulate my processing building with hempcrete. It does not mold, burn, and rodents cannot chew through it. My building will last for years and years. I know it has to have a certain wall finish. Sherilyn, the codes or USDA, whether it's state or federal, they're not going to tell you what products to use or not use, but they're going to be relying on you to prove how you're going to keep it clean and sanitize that basically daily. So if you're going to use hempcrete, you're going to have some type of finished material over that, I would expect. Or if you're just trying to seal that, we can talk through that as well. Maybe you're going to paint it. You've got to make sure that if, even a concrete or a concrete block material can be absorbent. And say if you get fat or blood or something in the pores of that concrete or hempcrete, then you could have bacteria growth there. So what your meat inspection professionals are going to be looking for is how are you keeping that clean and how are you preventing bacteria from growing on that surface. So the burden is really back on you as to how you're going to keep it clean. So a lot of times we do look at sealing that or painting it or something. So reach out if you have more questions on that one. Ann in Missouri, and I'm in Missouri too, Ann. So if a small plant has state inspection with CIS, can those animals then be sent to a USDA inspected plant for further processing? I'm going to say yes. I don't know of a case if there's a special product, there would be there could be a few examples if you're just doing retail cuts or if you're just say you're sending a whole carcass or a split carcass to another plant, the answer is yes. If you're trying to make some type of special treat, maybe you're packing for pet treats or something, there could be there could be some things that would get thrown back there at you, but just in general and for further processing, you can use the CIS at the USDA inspected plants as well. Regine, where can we find the USDA codes for a packing plant? You should be able to find those on the USDA FSIS website. And typically they have a search bar on that FSIS website, and just whatever you're looking for, typically you can type that in and it'll pull up the relevant codes. Or if you just want to find, all the codes, you can scroll through there at the codes, but there are thousands of pages if you're looking at the FSIS codes. Compared to a state, the states list their codes on there as well, but most states are just, a dozen pages or a couple dozen pages, and the states typically say that we are equal to or greater than FSIS, but they do not have, the 1,000 pages of codes and regulations like FSIS does.
Yeah, and I was just in there last night, Chris, and if you not only go to the FSIS, but go to grant of inspection, they've got a whole set of links
Yeah.
to all of the resources and the forms and the general guidelines for what you need to do to be a USDA inspected plant.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. A lot of things to look at there, Regine. Next question from you is who all should look at final plans before building begins? One, your inspecting authority, you should submit plans to them. So if that is FSIS, then you're going to want to submit plans to them. If it's the state, if the state is your inspection authority, then you're going to want them to look at it. If the health department is your inspection authority, then you're going to want them to look at it. In some cases, at some plants, you might have all three. So if you're doing some retail exempt product that falls under a health inspection, or if you have a store or a kitchen that might fall under health inspection, you're going to need your local health department. And in some cases, we have some plants that do dual inspection with the state and federal. So you're going to want all of them to look at it. So it kind of depends on who your inspection authority is. So, you may have to reach out to us and we can help you sort through that as well. But just keep in mind that whatever you're doing will dictate the inspection authority. So, but if you're a USDA FSIS plant, you're going to want to send that to the district office, and they'll distribute it to the people that need to see it. But use the grant curators at each of the district offices. So, and that grant curator will help get your plans to the right people. Next question, we received an award, but need to make a revision to the design and pivot focus as a result of other neighboring slaughter capacity that came online recently. Capacity that was uncertain when we submitted application. Who should we email to get TA on how to navigate revision process? Just shoot Dave and I an email, dcarter@flowerhill.institute and croper@flowerhill.institute. And please make a note of which grant it is. Let us know if it's the IAG, the MCAP, or the MPEP Phase 2, as there are different rules for each grant, but we can help you through that process as well. I think that's it. Dave, do you have anything else we need to hit on, or that I might
I
have
think we've covered a lot of ground this afternoon, but just everybody needs to know that we're here to help you. And please reach out. Chris gave you our email addresses. We're, as he mentioned at the beginning, we're not USDA employees, but we're pretty passionate about the work that we're doing, and we want these programs to succeed. So no two projects are alike, and we try and roll up our sleeves and work with you to do what fits your community and your business.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Each of your projects is special, and most of you can attest that we do dive into your project specifically so that we understand what you're trying to do. We care about your project, and we want each and every one of you to be successful wherever you are. So know that, and if we need to bring in other people, we sure will. Again, some of our other technical system providers are on the call now, and we're always happy to refer them whenever needed. And when there's something we don't know about, we're happy to phone a friend and ask for help ourselves. So, please reach out and let us know how we can help. Let's see, we have one more question just came in. Would you happen to have pre-made forms that help with tracking and data for each grant recipient to track more efficiently? Trying to think on that
That's a new
one.
one. Yeah.
Pre-made forms that help with tracking and data for each grant recipient. Might reach out to us separately. I'm not sure if I'm understanding that right. I don't know that we would have any pre-made forms. There would be some pre-made forms when it comes to HACCP, and Abby Davidson's on the call as well from AMP. If you're talking about maybe some pre-made forms for HACCP, that might be something we might have. But if it's something else, maybe clarify for us what specifically you're looking for. I'll go to the next question. If we need to come back, we can. Candy's got a question that says, if we have not heard anything on MCAP and MPEP, we may still be in the running. You could still be in the running. They are making notifications right now, Candy. So and Dave and I do not have a list. We don't know who they're calling and who they're not calling. I know that we have heard from people that have gotten awards, and we have heard from people that have gotten denials. So keep an eye on your inbox, keep an eye on your spam folders for emails that would come from USDA Rural Development, USDA AM. New Hampshire Community Loan Fund will be administering the MCAP grants and the MPEP Phase 2 grants. If you're looking for the IAG awards, the Indigenous Animals grants, that one is going through OESTA. That will be the grant administrator for the IAG grants. So USDA has reached out to other nonprofits to administer these last 3 grants that are being awarded right now. So the nonprofits will be the administrators and be the ones that you're communicating with. But for sure, Candy, if you haven't heard anything, right, keep an eye on your email here over the next week or two, or probably 2 weeks or so. You should see something one way or the other. As soon as we see a list, though, we'll try to post it on or do an email blast on that.
Yeah, I've told people, Chris, that, if we ever negotiated this cooperative agreement again, I'm going to throw in the proviso that we get a crystal ball as a part of it so that we can, see into the future. So,
Yeah, it's tough. We don't typically get any early advance notifications. As soon as we see a list, we try to post it for people so that you can know. But usually by then, our applicants have received an email, so we don't really find out any sooner than you do. But we'll try to keep everyone we know up in the loop, and at least try to blast it out on our list of contacts that come out through our newsletter or through the applicant forms. So does anyone have any final questions before we sign off? Going once, twice? All right. Thank you very much. And if we can assist any of you.
your email, yep, our email. I think if you go into the chat, I thought Nikki put that in there. Yes, go into the chat and Nicole put both. Chris, again, it's C Roper at floweryhill.institute or Dave Carter or D Carter at floweryhill.institute. Don't add a .com to the back end of that. It's just .institute.
Yeah. And you can always get us on the flowerhill.institute website as well. All right. Thank you all very much. And I hope you all have a great weekend.
Take care, folks.
Thanks.